From Springtide Research Institute, this is 13 to 25, a podcast where we explore how young people ages 13 to 25 grow into identity, spirituality, and well-being. Through research and real conversations, we hear directly from youth and young adults, as well as the experts and practitioners who walk alongside them. We're here to share lived experiences, big questions, and hopeful insights into what it means to support emerging generations today. In the between of being and becoming, this is 13 to 25.
Yes, this is a new podcast. Your ears have not deceived you. You might have previously subscribed to the Voices of Young People podcast from Springtide Research Institute, and we've rebranded. We're still delivering what you've already probably come to love in terms of hearing youth and young adults speak about their own experiences in tandem with the research coming out of Springtide. But we wanted to shake things up and just give a fresh start to the podcast offering we have. We are now called 13 to 25, as you just heard in that intro. And this is our first episode with that rebrand, refresh. I'm Marte Aboagye. I'm the head of engagement at Springtide, and I love getting to produce our podcast. It's so fun to get to have conversations, often with young people, about where our research is going, what we're hearing from often our Springtide ambassadors who are featured in the podcast. But today is a little bit of a preview of, one, we're now 13 to 25, the podcast, and two, we want to let you know what you can expect in this upcoming season, what Springtide has been researching so far in 2025. So let's get into a casual conversation. I'm joined today by a favorite colleague because she's been in different roles at Springtide. She first started as a Springtide ambassador in our 2024 cohort, and fun fact, you would have even heard her on season 9 of the Voices of Young People podcast about cultivating care. But now she's here as an intern and even helping to produce our podcast with me this season. So without further ado, let's have our guest introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Marte. It's great to be back on the podcast again. My name is Aimee. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Southern California. I was part of the 2024 Springtide Ambassador Program cohort, and I'm now a current marketing intern with Springtide. I actually graduated from college in marketing. It's been really cool to try that out and get into that kind of role. And just to share a hobby of mine, I really love music of all kinds, singing harmony in small groups, playing music, seeing bands in live concert, even finding new music through TV show soundtracks.
We've bonded on music before. Like, we like a lot of the same artists. Sometimes we're trying to catch the same tours in different locations. You're on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. But I always love geeking out with someone who likes the same types of music. And I know you have a diverse palette. Who are a few people you're listening to right now? Who's making it into the playlist you're creating?
Wow, one of our shared favorites, of course, Jacob Collier.
Love him forever.
Going through his discography right now. The last band I saw in person just a few days ago is called the Arcadian Wild.
Ooh.
And they're kind of folk, bluegrass. They called it newgrass.
Oh, newgrass. Yes. My dad is a bluegrass aficionado, and he will tell me when someone is classified as newgrass because he knows I'll go for them more, usually in compared to like the old school twangy stuff. So, okay, I need to look them up. I've never heard of them. I bet my dad knows them, but I'll see. Maybe I'll put him onto someone new. Say their name one more time.
The Arcadian Wild. Check them out.
Love it. Always happy to have your music recs, Aimee, and just really enjoying getting to co-produce this podcast with you this season. Thank you for the ways you've already been involved in conceiving of this new direction with the podcast and helping just with a lot of the background elements. If her voice sounds familiar, y'all, you might also notice she's in the intro you just heard at the beginning of this podcast season. You might hear her again in the outro. And like I said, you can go back and listen to a conversation she shared at the end of our last season, all about political experiences and influences, civic life. We called that season Cultivating Care. It coincided with our 2024 report. So you have multiple ways you can hear more from Aimee, but let's talk a little bit more today about why we're changing things up.
Yeah, let's get into that. Marte, can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to rename and rebrand the podcast?
Yes, we wanted to change things up for a few reasons. One being we'd had this name since 2020. Our first season came out 5 years ago. And so part of it just felt like, hey, we've had 5 years with the Voices of Young People. Let's shake it up. Let's try something new. But also when we called it the Voices of Young People, it's absolutely true to our commitment to being attentive and listening to and trying to understand the experiences of youth and young adults. But it also limits us from maybe talking to other voices, be it experts, practitioners, academics, other researchers, people who are invested in understanding and supporting emerging generations, just like Springtide is. We want to feature their voices too, but we felt it would be disingenuous to call it the Voices of Young People podcast and bring in someone who wasn't a young person to have their perspective enter into the conversation. So calling it 13 to 25 still keeps it very much attuned to who Springtide is. We're always curious about understanding emerging generations, but how we define young people has always been ages 13 to 25. And there's so much that happens in those stages of life, you know, entering teenage years, all the difficulties and challenges that come through navigating adolescence, then emerging into young adulthood, sometimes going on to do more education, sometimes entering different jobs or a mix of the two. Young professionals and teenagers are in very different places of life, but it's still so formative, those years. And that's who we're really attuned to listening to. So we're still listening to those voices. But when we call it 13 to 25, it's with the hope that people from maybe other generations, other stages of life could still reflect on that experience that is held within these years, held within ages 13 to 25. So you may hear different voices beyond just exclusively youth and young adults, but we still want to keep that, of course. So it just gives us more opportunity to have a mix of input, intergenerational conversations happening, and keeping our focus ever the same with 13 to 25. The slogan, the description, I guess you could say, that you heard right at the beginning is research and conversation to explore how young people ages 13 to 25 grow into identity, spirituality, and well-being.
Beautiful. So what I'm hearing is, as this podcast goes through a transition, a new stage in its life, if you will, what can we expect? You spoke to this a little bit. What can we expect that will stay the same and consistent? What new things can we look forward and be excited about? Essentially, what is this podcast being and what's it also becoming?
Ooh, I love that phrase. We even explored calling the podcast something like that, being and becoming, but it was too similar to other podcasts that exist. And I feel like being and becoming, your question, is so much of what Springtide is exploring and invested in researching and understanding. That is what this span of 13 to 25 looks like and feels like, is who you're being, who you're becoming. And certainly beyond 25. I'm 39. I'm still feeling that very much in my life, that being and becoming tension of being present and still looking to the ways you're growing and evolving. So yeah, I did preview a bit of what that will look like already, but let me also add that we want to hear from you. So if you're thinking, oh, I have a great guest recommendation, shoot us a message, be in touch with us. We always want our podcast and our resources as a whole to feel like a conversation. So that's some of what you can expect, is that your input might be shaping additional episodes. There might be seasons, like you come to understand, where we look at one topic in tandem with a research report that we're releasing into the world. And we might have one-off episodes where you might just have a single episode that's highlighting a key expert or practitioner, a voice that cares deeply about young people. We might do a whole series of expert voices building off of each other. So it just will vary. And we hope that variety is exciting to our listeners, that they might get to help shape some of what those episodes end up looking like, and that we might show up every week for a bit. We might have a little bit of a break. You might get a one-off and then a break. Just the variety of people who really want to be attentive to supporting emerging generations. And that always will still mean listening to young people. But let's get some other input and perspectives added in that conversation.
So fitting that you're the head of engagement, and now we're hearing these new ways to engage with the podcast, give input. As Springtide's head of engagement, do you have any tips for how to best engage with the podcast?
I love that question too. Really think, well, I said already, tell us what you want to hear on the podcast. In conversation about the episodes you're liking, for sure. And in that same vein, rate us. It goes a long way. If you've listened to one episode, or if you've listened to 10 plus episodes, we have 73. This is our 74th episode, I believe. No matter how many you've listened to, if you've enjoyed it, if you take that 1 minute to rate us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to, give us those 5 stars or that thumbs up. And then if you take, just that's only going to take 10 seconds, right? If you take that 50 extra seconds, give us a minute of your time to just write a sentence or two about what it is that you get out of this podcast, what you enjoy. That really does help other people find it. We're sharing our episodes on more and more platforms. Aimee just helped us get them up on YouTube. So all past 9 seasons, including this new season and this new approach with 13 to 25, you can find that all on our website, but you can also find it on YouTube now. Or whatever is your favorite podcast platform. We should still be showing up there. If you're not seeing us on your favorite podcast platform, let us know too. And maybe we can find a way to get on there if it's not already pulling into the platform of your choice. But rate us, share us, whether you're sharing the link, whether you're sharing a post on social media that highlights a snippet from the podcast. Aimee's also helped to get the most recent season up onto Instagram. You can see reels that have small previews of some of the episodes. We just want to make sure we're available. It's a free resource. So whether you work in schools, whether you work in faith communities, if you work in some sort of extracurricular program, you're a coach, you're a mentor of sorts, whatever it is, maybe you're a parent and you're invested in understanding teens and 20-somethings, this podcast is for you. You get to hear actual young people in their real lived experience describe what it is that they're thinking about, how they're coming at their own understanding of their identities, of key themes that Springtide's always exploring, like spirituality, religion, faith, as well as well-being as a whole, mental health. And then we dig into, specific topics that go along with what our research is uncovering. So share it widely and be in conversation with us with what we can do better, what we can feature, what you're curious about. And hopefully it feels like a dialogue, that even though you're listening in, that your input still really matters and shapes what we're doing, how we're conceiving of different conversations, how we're listening and including our Springtide ambassadors or other young people in the conversation all throughout each episode.
Marte, what you said is just so authentic to what the experience is, even being someone, a young person who records on this podcast. I remember my friend who got me into the Springtide Ambassador program. She told me something like, I think what Springtide does really well is listen to young people, take their input, and just through the whole 15-month process and now interning here, I've just seen that all across the board.
I love hearing that. I'm so honored that you would give your time as a Springtide ambassador. You spent 15 years. Whew, that would be an extra commitment. You spent 15 months in that role. That's no small thing. And the fact that you're like, hey, I want to stay on and applied for an internship is not something we take lightly at all. That young people are willing to lend their input is making us stronger as an organization, no doubt. And it's making our research that much more driven. We're not just listening to young people in our research. Young people are helping even shape how we conceive of our research, how we go about it, how we shape the questions, how we analyze findings, how we present it out. So thank you that you're one of those young people that, just makes us who we are as an organization that listens to 13 to 25-year-olds. And we hope if you're listening to the podcast, you feel that really clearly as well. Aimee, you were already on the podcast season, like we mentioned, but I want to preview for everyone what they can expect in this upcoming season that we'll be releasing after this preview episode. We're studying organizational involvement all throughout 2025. And that means we want to know the best ways that organizations can be attentive to connecting with young people, to supporting them, to retaining them. And we've looked at all different types of organizations, certainly faith-based ones, but also organizations that are connected to schools and education environments, after-school programs, extracurriculars, clubs, groups, teams, you name it. We've asked young people in our mixed methods research about what organizations really have impacted them that keep them coming back, and what is it about them? What qualities are drawing young people in? What are the reasons that they're wanting to get involved with these spaces and programs? And why do they keep showing up? So we've learned a lot, and we're going to have a variety of reports releasing data drops as well that you can find on our website, on our blog for quick released findings. So you can look forward to that dropping very soon from Springtide, all about organizational involvement in various settings. But that's what we've asked young people in every episode coming out for 13 to 25 for this season. We've said, tell us an organization that's really had a positive impact on your life and why. So Aimee, what are some orgs? Like, could you just give us a list? Because I know there's many different places you've been involved. What are some places that stand out that you were involved, whether it's in your teenage years or as a 20-something? What orgs would you list that, we're a key part of those developmental years?
So before I give a full list, I want to give a quick kind of analogy, which I think I've given you before. Okay. I'm not even a football person, but just thinking about life in quarters. Now that I'm 24, easy calculation, 1 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, 18 to 24.
Sure.
And as I look at these different involvements, I see how they've been a big part of those different quarters. And so the first one that comes to mind, probably one of my longest involvements, has been at church. I got started in children's ministry, but then got very connected in the youth group, even came back to work in youth ministry when I was in college. Also was looking back recently. I think I've been playing with the musical worship team for coming up on 9 years now. Whoa. So that's been a long...
That's goes past your quarters. Experience. Yes. Even.
Then when I was in high school, started in marching band. That became like my thing in high school. So that was 4 years right there. when I got to college, they actually didn't have a marching or pep band. And so I was emailing around, trying to get into the jazz band, didn't actually hear back. And so that's how I got started in the choirs. And then that became my college thing. And then now that I've graduated, trying to continue to stay active, exercise. And so then I last year started doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And so that's kind of been my post-grad thing. And so I just see how all of these are almost markers of the different seasons, formative stages of life. And I see how at each one, I've really enjoyed building a community there. And so I even said to someone recently, wow, jiu-jitsu is like my new choir.
Oh, I love that. It's feeling like a new place of community. I'm guessing a new sense of community for you that these other groups held at different stages of life, different quarters of your life.
Definitely.
It's cool you mention all of these because I've already recorded many of the episodes that are coming out about organizational involvement with some of our Springtide ambassadors in these conversations. And it's cool you mention it, and it's funny you mention it because marching band is definitely in a conversation. Various faith-based groups that are key involvement for different religious identities that our young people hold have come up. And jiu-jitsu has even made it into one of the episodes. Like that's specific even as far as a physical activity goes. But what I heard so much described is just the physical and mental combination that something like jiu-jitsu really cultivates. That yes, there's a physical element, but it's also about being really well-rounded, a holistic understanding. I don't know if that feels right to your own experience with jiu-jitsu, but I heard some of that just to tease out that folks can look forward to episodes that go even deeper into those examples. So is there a single organization, because you've had so many rich experiences, is there a single organization that you could lift up today that really has had a positive impact on your life? And just tell us a little bit about it. What about that group really impacted you? Maybe something it gave you, maybe something you gave to the group, or share a favorite memory even. I'd love to hear whatever details you can paint for us.
So as I was looking back on the different organizations I've been involved with over the many years, one stood out as spanning 2 quarters, and that would be being a Girl Scout. I started when I was around 1st or 2nd grade and did that all the way through when I was a senior in high school. And I just want to start with, I think when people think of Girl Scouts, often the first thing that comes to mind is the cookies, but it's so much.
Yeah, way more than cookie sales.
So much more than that. The funny thing is when I was in 5th grade, we had to give a quote for something. And apparently the quote I gave was, I am a Girl Scout. And so I look back and I think it was just a huge part of my identity growing up.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
I believe the mission of the organization is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character. And I look back on those.
I love that. Like I want to snap to that description. Yes.
Great alliteration. I really see those 3 pillars and how they came out in my life in different ways. For favorite memories, there's just so many to choose from. I feel like I was exposed to so many different opportunities and experiences. Girl Scouts of America is just so well known across the nation that there's so many groups that are willing to work with the Girl Scouts, give them tours. And so just museums, baseball games, gymnastics events, horseback riding camps, desert camping and backpacking. There's so many different things.
Tons of experiences.
I think that growing up, I was actually someone who was quite averse to trying new things. I remember we went to Knott's Berry Farm, which is a local amusement park in Southern California. And we were allowed to go on one ride as part of our school field trip. And everyone else went on the log ride. And I remember being the one who stood back.
Wow.
And so when I look back now at my time in Girl Scouts and all the different things I tried, zip lining, rappelling, being in the desert, camping, cooking food over a fire, getting trained to use tools like chop wood with a hatchet.
Cool. Not your average city kid experience, for sure.
Definitely not. I just see how I got so much opportunity to learn how to just try new things, insert myself into new groups and situations. And also I just see the carryover of leadership skills, learning how to be resourceful. I feel so much more prepared when it comes to wilderness and emergency preparedness skills. So first aid, knots, lashing, compass, all kinds of things.
So rad. I was a dropout. I don't know if that's the right term, but I didn't continue for Girl Scouts in the length that you did. I think I was a brownie and then a Girl Scout for a few years, all in elementary school. But other people I've spoken to who've done the full experience, it's something that really sticks with them years and years later. Those skills, sometimes like actual survival or wilderness skills, but sometimes also just the skills of confidence, of leadership development. Do you feel like that kid that was too scared to do the barrel, I don't know if scared is the right word, but was holding back for something new, uncertain, from the barrel ride at Knott's Berry Farm, do you feel like that kid, given a few more years in Girl Scouts, would have maybe tried it out because you were being exposed to so many stretching and getting out of your comfort zone experiences through Girl Scouts?
Oh, yes. I feel like now I'm like just jumping in the water.
Yes. Yes.
But I think the one other thing that stands out, the Boy Scouts, they have the law, and similarly, the Girl Scouts do too. And it goes, I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. And it's just ingrained in my memory.
I don't think you read it right now. I think it's still memorized. Yes.
And almost, we're talking about spiritual settings.
Yeah.
Almost like a liturgy. Because I joined Girl Scouts before I started going to church. And so for me,
wow.
I'll go to, say, a Catholic mass. Coming from a Protestant background, that's a little bit of an unfamiliar setting to me.
Sure.
And I'll hear people repeating portions of liturgy. To me, this is almost something that's ingrained in my memory.
It's a prayer. Yeah.
Yes.
It feels like a prayer. Yeah.
Especially that line, make the world a better place. Mm-hmm. I think that's one that really stuck with me.
I mean, is it called the pledge? Is that the right term for it? It feels like, some sort of commitment. What did you call it before? And you said Boy Scouts have their own version.
There's an oath and a promise. I think that one specifically is the law, the Girl Scout law.
The Girl Scout law. I mean, this Girl Scout law, it feels like we need this in the world today. Like, I want young people to feel like they are getting experiences, no matter what the setting or place or group is, that's shaping them to be these kinds of participants in their own communities, in the world at large. When I think of just so many hard things in our world today, we're recording this in summer 2025, whatever that means like for you and your own world and your own community. Don't we want to be raising and empowering and equipping young people to have that kind of confidence in who they are and the type of person they can be, the type of member of their communities that they can see themselves being? I just think it's tremendous. I want to be the kind of leader that gives young people that same kind of permission, and more than even permission, like ownership, in that they can co-create with the leaders in their groups and environments, spaces that really speak to these commitments of how you can show up in the world, the type of person you can be, and that it goes beyond the program. Like you know this law, this Girl Scout law, it feels like a promise. It might feel like a prayer or like liturgy, even like you said, you know it deeply in you and you're feeling it actualized in your life, even beyond the program. I mean, can we set young people up for success in better ways? I'm so glad you could recite that for us by memory, and I see those values in you. I see those characteristics in you, and I just applaud the leaders along the way who volunteered their time and energy to empower young girls, young women through that kind of a program, and who do it all the time. Girl Scouts is such an institution. It's such a known entity all throughout the US. And yes, we might think of it with cookie sales, but it goes so much deeper as you've drawn out through, highlighting all these experiences, whether you're in the wilderness, whether you're just going about your day-to-day life, how you show up with kindness, how you show up with integrity to make the world a better place. So bravo, Girl Scouts of America, just for Aimee alone, let alone the thousands upon thousands of young women who have been impacted. Even if they were a dropout like me, I still have fond memories in a friend's backyard where her mom was the leader for Girl Scouts of just the type of activities that we got to do, the type of fun that was had, whether we're pitching a tent in a backyard or you're getting to go to the desert, maybe for your experiences in Southern California. It's a rich experience, and there's leaders who make such a difference in young people's lives. So thank you for lifting that up, Aimee. And I hope y'all are excited to hear many more organizations highlighted. They might have big national presence like the Girl Scouts, or they might just be more of a smaller, locally driven, community-based group. Whatever it is, it's really refreshing to hear young people describe something that's had such a positive impact in their life. And I think there's lessons to glean. Even just today, how Aimee's describing the impact of the Girl Scouts from first grade to 12th grade in her life. There are things for us to all learn in our own settings about ways that we can better show up and support young people. I've had so much fun in this conversation, Aimee. I have one more question for you. If there is something that you could draw out about what you're excited about 13 to 25 with this new direction of the podcast, or anything in the ways that you've been involved, what are you looking forward to? What are you excited about with 13 to 25?
First of all, I just want to say what I already love about the podcast, which is just the diversity of perspectives that it brings. It, in some ways, is almost like being a fly on the wall in a breakout room of our Springtide Ambassador program.
That's a great description of it. Yeah.
And just to hear people from all over the states, different ages, 13 to 25. I think sometimes it's easy to underestimate young people.
For sure.
I think hearing directly from them can really push back on whatever we might already believe or think, and just give clearly, this is young people, this is who they are, this is what they're thinking, this is what they care about. That has been so cool to not only hear, but also get to be a part of. This season, Marte has asked me into this kind of producer role. We're working on the rebrand and just the new direction for the podcast, the new people who may come onto it. I'm excited just for this opening up to experts, practitioners, a whole new diversity of voices. Also, the new opportunities for engagement, giving input, us hearing from you where you would like this to go as well.
Yeah. So if you do want to be in touch with us, there's a few different ways you could reach out. You could use the form on our website. We really do read that on the Contact Us page, but we also have an email address listed on there. You can always reach out and just tell us that you're curious or hopeful about something with the podcast. You have a question about it. You can always reach us on the Contact Us page on springtideresearch.org, or the email listed on the Contact Us page. I believe it's care at springtideresearch.org. Wherever you reach out, we're really excited to be in conversation with you. You could shoot us a DM on one of our social media platforms, like wherever it is, be in touch. Share what you're enjoying, sharing what you're learning, and maybe we'll get to talk to you or someone from your own community or organization even. We would love that. I am so honored to have you in this co-producer role, Aimee. Yeah, like I said, you'll hear her voice even beyond this single episode because she's doing our intro and outro to frame each podcast episode. Every little element you hear and see, if you're watching the podcast versus listening to it, every element you hear or see in 13 to 25 touches with someone who might be between 13 to 25. We really do always take that seriously at Springtide, and we want to have these intergenerational exchanges as well. So thank you for everything you do, Aimee, and for sharing this conversation today. And get ready for what's to come as you hear all about organizational involvement from our Springtide ambassadors. Thanks, y'all.
Visit springtideresearch.org to learn more about our research and resources, centering the perspectives and experiences of young people ages 13 to 25. As a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, Springtide Research Institute is committed to listening to young people and sharing accessible social scientific research along with actionable insights. Visit our website to find ways to support our work and discover ways that we can support yours. You can find and follow us on social media at We Are Springtide. If you're enjoying 13 to 25, we invite you to rate, review, and share the podcast with a friend. And we'd love to share a conversation with you. Send your questions or comments to info@springtideresearch.org. Today's show was produced by Marte Aboagye, audio mixing by Andy Palmer, opening and closing by Aimee Chao, and original music by Christian Unthank, who was 14 when he produced this track. Special thanks to the guests featured in today's conversation and all the young people between 13 to 25 whose insights and perspectives make our research possible. Thanks for listening and for supporting the teens and 20-somethings in your own life.